Easter week, 2003. Deep in the Colombian jungle, a soldier on patrol steps away from his unit to relieve himself. He sticks his machete into the soft ground to balance and hits something solid. He digs, pulls out a bundle of cash, then another, then another. Buried beneath the jungle floor are 18 canisters containing $20 million in drug money. 147 soldiers are about to become rich. Within a decade, the money will have killed, imprisoned, or destroyed every single one of them. 2 months earlier, in February 2003, a surveillance plane carrying 3 American military contractors crashed in the mountains of southern Colombia. The FARC guerrillas killed the American pilot and a Colombian crew member, then took the 3 survivors hostage. The Colombian army deployed Mobile Brigade 6 into the Caqueta jungle to search for the hostages. 147 soldiers from 2 companies, Buitre, the Vulture, and Demoledor, the Destroyer, marched into one of the most dangerous regions on Earth. These were young men, most of them from the poorest rural families in Colombia. Their monthly salary, about $300. They spent weeks in the jungle. They ran out of supplies. They ate monkey meat and Amazon rodents. They were being hunted by FARC patrols. And then, on April 14th, during Easter week, they stumbled onto an abandoned FARC encampment near the Coraguaje River. In Colombian slang, a guaca is a hidden treasure, a buried stash. And what these soldiers had found was the guaca of FARC's most elite unit, the Teofilo Forero Mobile Column. 18 to 20 metal and plastic canisters, buried 50 centimeters deep, sealed with tape and chemicals to protect the bills from insects. Each canister contained approximately 350 million Colombian pesos. The total, roughly 40 billion pesos. At 2003 exchange rates, that's somewhere between 14 and 20 million US dollars. The money came from drug trafficking and kidnapping ransoms. The area around the cache was protected by landmines. One exploded, injuring a soldier. Now picture the math. These men earned $300 a month. Some had been in the army for years and had never saved more than a few hundred. And here, in the mud, sat more money than any of them could earn in 100 lifetimes. The 2 commanding lieutenants, Elish Mojica Calderon, of Company Demoledor, and Jorge Sanabria Acevedo, of Company Buitre, gathered all 147 soldiers. They made a pact of silence, and they divided the money. The split wasn't equal. Soldiers in Company Buitre received about $60,000 each. Officers and NCOs got about $70,000. Soldiers in Company Demoledor received approximately $200,000 per man, 7 packages of $100 bills. Some soldiers were so overwhelmed, they didn't know what to do with the cash. They burned money in campfires. They gambled enormous sums playing cards. One soldier lit a cigarette with a 50,000 peso note. And then, with their pockets full of drug money, 147 soldiers walked out of the jungle. The soldiers returned to their base in Popayan and immediately requested leave. What happened next was spectacularly reckless. Men who had never owned anything in their lives walked into stores and paid cash for 4x4 trucks, BMW motorcycles, flat-screen televisions, luxury clothing, and electronics. They bought houses for their families. They spent lavishly at bars and brothels. At a shop called Puerto Amor on the road between Neiva and San Vicente, soldiers showed up and bought everything they could carry. One soldier activated a hand grenade on the military transport aircraft, threatening to blow everyone up. 56 soldiers deserted and fled, some to the United States, Spain, Panama, and Ecuador. None of them seemed to consider the obvious problem. Soldiers earning $300 a month arriving home with BMWs and flat screens. Military intelligence noticed almost immediately. The soldiers had stolen from the most dangerous people in Colombia. When FARC discovered their money was gone, they assembled a special hit team to track down the soldiers. The killings began quickly. By 2006, at least 12 soldiers had been murdered. 2 were killed in Barranquilla, 1 in Cúcuta, one in Arauca. At least 2 were executed directly by FARC hit squads. One soldier used his share to buy his father a coffee farm. FARC found out, came after him, couldn't find him, so they kidnapped his father. The soldier went to the hills and offered to trade himself for his father's freedom. FARC took the deal. They released the father. Then they executed the son. But FARC wasn't the only threat. Common criminals who heard about the soldier's windfall came hunting too. Families were threatened, kidnapped, and extorted, and then the Colombian state itself closed in. Military prosecutors began investigating. The spending trails were absurdly easy to follow. You don't need a detective to figure out how a private making $300 a month suddenly owns a house and a motorcycle. 147 soldiers were charged with peculado por apropiación, embezzlement, on the legal theory that since the soldiers were acting as agents of the state, the money became government property the moment they found it, and keeping it was theft. Some soldiers fled. 56 vanished completely, their whereabouts unknown to this day. One soldier underwent gender reassignment surgery and assumed a new identity as a woman named Liliana. She was captured in Cali in 2016. The legal process took over a decade. In February 2013, a military court issued final convictions. In August 2014, the Military Superior Court published a 445-page ruling, and in September 2015, Colombia's Supreme Court ratified the convictions against 142 military personnel. Sentences ranged from 3 to 10 years. Soldiers also received fines of 149 minimum monthly wages and were disqualified from public office until 2025. Of the estimated 40 billion pesos stolen, only 1.26 billion was ever recovered. Less than 5%. There's a question this story asks that has no clean answer. Were these soldiers criminals, or were they desperate men faced with an impossible temptation? These were young men from the poorest families in Colombia. Many joined the army because there were no other jobs. They were eating rodents in the jungle, sleeping in the rain, risking their lives for $300 a month. And then, in the mud, they found more money than their entire families would earn in 10 generations. Their defense attorney argued they should have been charged with failure to report, not embezzlement. But the court disagreed. The legal principle was clear. They were agents of the state. The money was state property from the moment it was found. The soldiers called it the cursed money. La Guaca maldita. They were right. Jesus Danilo Jimenez was a professional soldier from Manizales. He received roughly 2.5 billion pesos. He bought motorcycles, a house, and expensive clothes. He lost everything through bad decisions. Today he's a tennis instructor, caring for his mother, with a 150 million peso fine still hanging over him. He has never married. The soldier called Julian fled to Ecuador, became a chef, married 3 times, has 7 children. He was sentenced in absentia to 48 months. The soldier called Liliana fled, changed her identity entirely, and was captured after 13 years on the run. The story was turned into Colombia's #1 film of 2006, Soñar no cuesta nada, and a 26-episode television series. The state continues pursuing survivors to this day. As of 2022, Jimenez says, "The state is still coming after us." The 3 American hostages the soldiers were supposed to rescue? They were finally freed in 2008 through Operation Checkmate, 5 years after the Guaca was discovered. The soldiers who found the money never found the hostages. 147 men found $20 million in the jungle. 12 were murdered. Over 140 were convicted. 56 disappeared. 1 changed their gender to hide. Less than 5% of the money was ever recovered. And the soldier who can still tell the story works as a tennis instructor, making less than he earned in the army. The cursed money destroyed every life it touched.